Hello, and welcome back to MoJo JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, the one and only Powerpuff Girls / JoJo's Bizarre Adventure recap and discussion podcast. I'm Raven.
And I'm Alison.
This week, we are headed back to Townsville with Season 3 of the Powerpuff Girls. We'll be talking about the episodes Fallen Arches and the main event. Before we start the episode, just a reminder that it would be super cool if you could follow / subscribe to the podcast if you haven't already, and leave us a review and we might read it on the show. It would be really helpful to get the pod out to more people.
Please push all the buttons for us and possibly share with a friend. And we also have another podcast called What We Hide in the Shadows, where we are discussing what we do in the shadows, which is a comedy about vampires that live in Staten Island.
Yeah. So if you'd like to hear more about some vampires from us, but you don't want them to be as evil as Dio, that's a great option for you.
Okay, so this is Season 3, Episode 1, Fallen Arches, and it aired in the U.S. July 28, 2000. A creepy old man watches the girls on the news, saving the day again. He calls them stupid girls and whippersnappers, then takes out his teeth and laughs maniacally, and I don't know if I'm saying that right. And it is revealed he lives in Pokey Folks. So he looks at an old picture. The next day in Pokey Folks, the same old guy with a monocle says they are back in business and tosses a ribbon with a skull on it on a table where another old man and a boy are playing cards. The girls get a call about a bank robbery, and it's 3 geriatric men doing the robbery. So I think the original old man is named Mastermind, and his friends are Counterpart and Cohort, and they are called the Ministry of Pain. They have come out of retirement to do bad things. He thinks they will be victorious because the town is only protected by little girls. So I don't know if he just doesn't understand that they have superpowers. Blossom holds the girls back from pummeling these elderly men, so the news calls them cowardly. But then the mayor says that they're all doomed when their adversaries are revealed to be the Ministry of Pain. The mayor is worried about them trying to take over the world and his juice bar, like they tried to do in 1942. Then he shows the girls a movie from 1944 where 2 superheroes, Captain Righteous and Lefty, put the Ministry of Pain behind bars. The girls go to Pokey Folks to find Captain Righteous. So, the Ministry of Pain, they're kind of almost like, I don't know, they're sort of spooky goth guys, I guess, in a way. They're all, in black. And I think Captain Righteous and Lefty are kind of, in red, white, and blue, or red and blue.
Yeah.
He says he will defeat them, but gets mad when they bring up Lefty. The girls then find Lefty and fill him in. Lefty says Captain Righteous was mad at him. So I think Captain Righteous thought Lefty wanted all the glory.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like to me.
Blossom tells them each a different story to get them to fight against the Ministry of Pain. The 2 men get into red and blue costumes. The Ministry of Pain robs a jewelry store, and Captain Righteous, not so gracefully, flies in. They flee at a slow pace, and Lefty stops them. Captain Righteous says he works alone, and they bicker back and forth. The Ministry of Pain shoves Lefty down, and he hurts his hip. Captain Righteous runs to his rescue and lands on top of the Ministry of Pain. The newsman blames the Powerpuff Girls for the 5 elderly men ending up in intensive care. It was just kind of a bad look for the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah.
But they didn't want to beat up old men.
Yeah, or at least Blossom didn't. She's like, no, we need to respect others. And the other 2 are just but they're bad guys. We can throw down with them. No one's gonna care.
I mean, they probably could easily have just captured them and put them in jail.
Yeah.
And didn't technically have to beat them up.
Yeah.
They weren't.
He fell down and instantly broke his hip.
They weren't fast.
I'm assuming the bad guys are probably in like similar condition as Lefty, where if you did knock them over, that would just instantly get injured.
Yeah, I think it was a good solution so that they didn't look bad for beating up old people, but it was still old people fighting each other, so they were going to end up getting injured. But like I said, I think they could have easily subdued them.
Yes.
Or even just like the cops.
Yeah. I'm not even sure if the Ministry of Pain had. So I know Captain Righteous and Lefty seemed like they did, or at least Captain Righteous, but I'm not sure if the Ministry of Pain ever like showed them using powers. So like, yeah, it's not like it was just up to the girls to get them. But like, it's just the way the episode framed it. It really just seemed like only Blossom was really hung up on the being senior citizens, and everyone else is like, well, just take them out.
Yeah, except the mayor was like, we're all doomed, and he kind of didn't really have, it seemed like major confidence in the girls being able to do it.
Yeah, because he remembers them like being like super scary back in the 40s, but it's been like 50 plus years. So like they're old and wrinkly now, and they can't kick as much ass.
So I think it's like all the good guys and bad guys were voiced by Jeff Bennett, except Lefty was voiced by D. Bradley Baker, who's like Klaus. How do they say it? Klaus in American Dad? It's the alien guy, right?
Klaus. No, Klaus is the talking fish, the talking German fish.
Ew.
Well, he used to be a German guy, but they put his brain in there. Roger is the alien.
Ew, okay. I guess I was thinking that wrong. And then I think, so this one had like the newsman kind of narrating the show and not the narrator, so we didn't have the narrator in this episode.
Yeah, the wiki said this is like one of only 2 episodes not to feature the narrator.
So I guess we have talked before about, I mean, there's plenty of bad guys in this show, but like, why aren't there any other superheroes? So I guess there were some like 50 years ago, but I don't know.
They're just all retired now.
I'm sure what's happened in between.
Yeah, there wasn't like a particular like reason brought up in the episode. They're just kind of like, in the 40s this happened, and then now they're just really old and they're all in the same retirement home and stuff.
Kind of funny that they didn't really like run into each other.
Yeah.
I guess. Although I think the Ministry of Pain did maybe talk to each other. Possibly?
Yeah. They probably still hung out and stuff. I don't know that the Ministry of Pain were like based on any particular supervillain, but like Captain Righteous was like a pretty obvious like Captain America parody, and then Lefty looked like he was like a combination of like Robin and like classic Bucky in the comics.
Yeah. I'm thinking maybe if they had a little bit more of like, I don't know, like a reason for them to come back other than that they saw that the town was being protected by little girls. Like, I don't know. They wanted some extra money or something.
And just like, this dude is old and sexist. He's just like, ew, little girls even.
Because with them all being in Pokey Folks, you would think that they would have realized that the Captain Righteous and Lefty were still around.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sure the news footage, like, shows, like, the girls are on TV all the time, that they can fly, they have, like, they can shoot laser, they're strong. So I don't know why they thought it was going to be so easy.
Yeah, they have as many gajillion superpowers as, like, Superman, so I don't know why they thought that they'd be, like, such pushovers, just because they're little girls. Or they wouldn't have been if Blossom wasn't there, because Buttercup and Bubbles would have just beaten the snot out of them.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if, I'm sure, like, Buttercup totally would have beat the snot out of him, but I'm sure, like, Bubbles would have been a little bit more gentle, I feel like.
Yeah.
Until, like, maybe one of them, like, took a swing at her or something, and then she would have been like, okay, like, the gloves are off!
We can kill them now!
Yeah. Or, like, they insult them as little girls and not being able to fight, and then she would have been, like, mad.
Yeah. Alright, so that same week we had that the Fallen Arches aired, we also have the main event. The girls wake up in the morning looking sleepy and with messy hair, except for Blossom, whose hair is perfect and shiny even after a full night's rest. She swishes her locks back and forth, back and forth. She lets Bubbles and Buttercup do her hair. Bubbles tells her how pretty her hair is, and Buttercup uses hairspray to make a race car track out of her hair. Bubbles is like, don't be ridiculous, Bubbles doesn't like that. And Buttercup is like, the bunny you made out of her hair is so not cool. And then they argue more, and Blossom's like, just give me a real hairdo already. As they restyle Blossom's hair, however, Buttercup pulls out a giant clump of hair out of the back of her head as she undoes a knot. Buttercup and Bubbles give each other a look of horror and attempt to fix their mistake with scissors, but cut off way too much. Just then, the hotline rings, and Blossom tells them to get on it, but her sisters laugh at her. Not realizing that they've left her with but a few tufts of hair, Blossom's like, what are you even laughing about? And flies off. Bubbles and Buttercup hoot with laughter, but follow Blossom into town. Even the narrator laughs at Blossom. Meanwhile, a giant black orb rises up into the sky, blocking out the sun as the citizens of Townsville look on in horror. It opens one giant eye and starts blasting lasers at everything in the city as the Townsvillians run away. Fire jets arrive on the scene to attack the orb, but as they do so, the orb opens up a gazillion eyes all over its body and blasts them out of the sky. We don't see any parachutes open or anything, like they often do in cartoons, so I'm assuming those dudes died. Blossom scolds and lectures the orb about causing senseless destruction, but the orb sees Blossom's new haircut and starts laughing, and so does everyone else. Blossom is confused why they're laughing at her until she sees her reflection on a skyscraper. She screams and flies off, leaving Bubbles and Buttercup still laughing to fight the many-eyed creature on their own. It blasts them into the ground, and they try a sneak attack using, like, a needle-type thing from the top of the building and a water tower, but it vaporizes those before they can get near it. At home on the TV, Stanley Whitfield reports that the monster and its many eyes prevent it from being attacked, and Blossom watches in shame under the covers. The professor comes in and asks Blossom what's wrong, and she shows him her hair. Whoa, he exclaims. He says that Blossom needs to turn her hair don't into a hairdo, which seems to inspire Blossom because she flies back into town. She starts cracking jokes and puns about hair, which makes the creature laugh so hard it closes its eyes, thus providing the opportunity for Bubbles to laser in a steel beam and Buttercup to whack it up into outer space. Everyone laughs some more, but more out of celebration than mockery. Bubbles and Buttercup apologize, but when Bubbles asks if they're even, Blossom laser eye-beams their haircuts into hair don'ts as well, and says now we're even. The narrator laughs and declares the day is shaved. I'm just gonna say, after that, I don't think I would allow them near my head with scissors again.
I mean, I'm sure her hair will be, like, all put together in the next episode, but, like, that's gonna take a long time to grow out. I would be super angry at that.
She still had, like, part of her ponytail, and then, like, a big clump on the top of her head, and that was about it. So it's gonna look horrendous when it grows out. I probably would just like shave it all off.
She should have shaved parts of their hair. I know she like kind of burnt their hair, but they didn't have like bald spots.
Yeah, they're just like a little crispy now.
I have the eye monster was voiced by Frank Welker, who was the Abracadabra magician guy, and then he's also was Fred Jones, and it's a current Scooby-Doo, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, he took over as Scooby as well. Scooby Fred. Yeah. I always forget like how much other stuff he does other than just being like Fred. Because he does like a lot of like voices and sound effects, much like D. Bradley Baker does too, like weird like animal noises and stuff. And then you go in the credits and you're like, that was pretty cool.
Oh, okay.
He even did like the lion noises and the Lion King and shit too. Like, I feel like I've read that. It's wild.
It was cute. The girls kind of like doing different things with Blossom's hair. So, I mean, they must have been, like, she trusted them to do that until this one unfortunate incident where they were just, like, trying to be fast. I think it was, like, her trying to brush out, like, the hairspray or, like, the knot of, like, the racetrack or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm also thinking that really had to hurt.
Yes, I don't know how she didn't notice that. Like, I'll get, like, on occasion, like, some tiny little knots, and that really hurts. It'll make my eyes water.
I think I would have rushed to look at the mirror at that point and then, like, not let them touch. Because maybe, I think that was just in the back, but maybe she could have laid the rest of the hair in some way that it would have covered that up. But then when they did more, it was really bad.
They're just like, let's break out the scissors. I'm like, you guys are like 5 or 6. Why do you have hair scissors?
Yeah.
I guess I just kind of liked that it seemed like something that would happen to a small child. I do enjoy the episodes that are more like that, but then it's brought into like a superhero problem because she's like, I can't fight like this. They're all laughing at me.
Yeah. You see that from time to time. It's not like she tried to cut her own hair, but it's kind of like that because you see little kids on the internet all the time where they're like, she cut her hair.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it is something that sometimes kids try to do. With them just like, it's not them destroying the city, but the eye monster just kind of disintegrating buildings and stuff. I'm not really sure how the city just has the budget and like everything to rebuild stuff all the time. They need to show that some episode like where they're just flying through town and there's all these like construction areas and cleanup. Or, I don't know, maybe even like a town meeting where people complain about the girls or the monsters always showing up and like the town always getting blown up or buildings getting destroyed.
Yeah, I'm just like, why do people want to keep living here when there's like a new Godzilla type creature like every week? or like every other week, anyways. Because any other time I'd be like, oh, here's MoJo.
Yeah, like why haven't they kicked out MoJo or why doesn't why is he not in jail?
Yeah. He will be in jail for 2 minutes and then he will be back atop his volcano.
But it might be fun, like, to just, I don't know if that's fun or not, but just to kind of see maybe that side of it, like, the citizens kind of being annoyed with it, or like the mayor having to field phone calls, or like a town meeting, or maybe even Miss Bellum dealing with it, and like maybe showing the construction a little bit, maybe even the girls helping with it some, because like how does it get fixed so quickly? Yeah. I don't know, maybe sometimes I think about things too much, where I'm like, well, if this was the real world, and I know it's like a cartoon, and it's supposed to be fun, but I'm like,
yeah, I think about that sometimes too with like other shows where it'll be like kind of a monster of the week type thing, like Buffy. Like, here's all these teenagers that did die this week, but everyone still wants to live here with their kids.
Yeah. Like we've been watching Smallville, and there's like the Freak of the Week. And a lot of that is like the teenagers too that are affected because of, I guess, the kryptonite falling when little baby Clark arrived and it does all this crazy stuff to people. And there's there's kind of some disasters that result from it. People killed.
Yeah.
And yeah, why do people still want to live there? Or why is it not like this big whole scandal on the front of the newspaper all the time?
Yeah, why isn't it like the FBI has like cordoned off this town?
Yeah.
They put him under a dome, like in the Simpsons movie.
And sometimes I'm just like, too, like the black eyeball thing. Like, where did it even come from? Like, where are these things? Are they just coming up from the ocean? Like, is that some sort of, I know it seemed to like, it laughed at Blossom, so I think it was alive. But I mean, like, did someone invent it? Like, I don't know.
Alright, so I guess we will end our conversation about the show here. Next week, The episodes we're going to be covering are Town and Out and Child Fearing. So you might want to watch ahead if you haven't seen those already so that we don't spoil the whole episode for you. And again, I'd just like to ask that if you haven't already followed or subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you're on, to do that and maybe leave us a review or a comment, depending also on what platform you're listening on. It'd just be really helpful to get feedback and also to get the show out there to more people.
Smash all the buttons for us.
So until next time, I'll be the roundabout. Goodbye.
Goodbye.